All right, everybody, welcome to NorCal Sports Network. And this is the same hat that Brock Purdy's dad wears. Chat loves it when Marty Lurie comes on.
Anytime you lose a game this time of year, when you can't go backwards, it's a problem.
All right, everybody. We'll let the band play a little bit tonight here as we get everything set up.
Yeah, they need it. The band needs to get ready for the big Santa Claus showing up in 2 days.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody. Hold on here, I forgot this up. There we go.
Hear me out, hear me out. It's all the things you never show. There are the things I want to know.
All right, everybody.
Secret star in your heart.
Get this music off.
Boy, that new lead singer is pretty good.
Not too bad. Cost a little bit more to get him in here tonight, but
It's worth it.
yeah.
NorCal's booming.
Yeah, we're booming. How are we doing on subs? I didn't check today. Let's see. But guys, welcome on in. Welcome on in, everybody, to NorCal Sports Network. The show is brought to you by Chapman Law Group. We're at 3869. I'm surprised we're not at 3900. I guess we're going to have to get a little bit more going here. Chapman Law Group. Give Chapman Law Group a call for any of your legal matters. If you have any, need some documents, give Chapman Law Group a call, 415-613-9483. Let them know NorCal Sports Network sent you. All right, let's check it out, guys. We, you know what? I don't know, Lou. We're going to be able to do that tonight. I don't think so. We're going to have to push that off to.
Okay.
We'll figure that out. But maybe I'll just pick somebody out. I don't know. We got so many baseballs left. We need to get them, you know.
Yep.
They say we do it every night, but we haven't done it in a week.
No, it just seemed like it.
Oh, boy. I'm the band because I'm playing on Christmas Eve. All right, Tommy Huxley. There he is. Tommy Huxley. He's got his guitar out there. Look at that. Nice. All right, guys. What's happening with the Giants? Who in the heck knows? This club, Lou, is, I don't want to say they're as tight as a man. Tight. They are
Safe.
just, yeah, this is
Safe. That's going to be the word for 25.
Yeah.
2025. Safe. It has to be safe. You know, it's just getting to the point now where in the last, I'd say 60 hours, there's been major transactions, and there's no reason why the Giants couldn't be at least part of one, maybe two of them, especially of how much money is going out, considering what we signed Yaz for, is what I usually compare.
right.
For a fourth outfielder, where we could have got some of these guys, and I know we're going to talk about it, but, you know, it's also very upsetting. I mean, are we throwing everything in for Burnes and we have no backup plan? Or if we get Burnes, it's worth the wait. But if we, you know, we got to realize Burnes might not be coming here. I keep seeing things on the MLB network where, you know, Susan Slusher and a few other people saying that they want at least 8 years, a lot of money, like the Strasburg thing. And I've heard now the Giants aren't even offering 7 years. They want 8. The Giants aren't offering 7. It's only 6. And if the Giants are going to be cheap over 1 year, it's getting ridiculous.
You know, it's getting ridiculous. They
Yeah.
lose out on Burnes. I was pulling up Susan Slusser,
Sure.
and I just looked on Twitter, and the first feed that popped up, Lou, I'll have to show it to you real quick because we were talking about NBA refs the other night and the women. Have you seen this?
What's his name? Oh, is this tonight now? Another one?
Listen to this.
Oh, that's at Philly. Okay.
Listen. Look at the headline. I effed up. Now listen. This is 12 seconds. The fans are going crazy.
Oh,
This
she
is
did.
Toronto and Philly. And I know this is baseball, guys. This is just 12 seconds. Let me, because I'm going to get to the Susan Slusser, but I just saw this and I thought we'll have to play this for the Warriors postgame. Listen to this.
You get the bring back in. Run it back in. Thank you.
There you have it. She screwed up.
And you know what's funny is that's from Toronto, Philly. She did again tonight with the Spurs. She threw a guy out and then brought him back in.
Oh,
I mean, it's just getting to the point now where it's so funny because Minnesota's player the other night who was criticizing, he said the exact same thing that we talked about. The girls are not fast enough and they're not as athletic as the guys, and they're calling the plays before it happens, and it's ruining the NBA. But let's get to the baseball.
So
we'll talk about that in another show. Sorry about that.
Here's the comment. See what happens if you say anything like, "Look, I'm blocked," but I can still read the comment. But
Oh yeah,
all because I said you don't ask the tough questions.
well, of course, she's a homer.
Yep. Are the Giants willing to spend what it will take to sign Corbin Burnes? Team is still in, but also likes Sasaki a lot. Is holdup payroll related or waiting on Sasaki decision? And then we get this, another one. Where was it? I read it somewhere. Sorry, guys. I read it.
The one that MF might have sent you.
Let me just disconnect this. I'll read it from my phone because
Sure.
this is what it says here.
They're
Give me
going
one
cheap with Sasaki. I can just feel it now.
So if they get Sasaki, it said something about, are they waiting on Sasaki to, let me see if I can find it. All right, here it is. Buster. Why is this one gone? This was at 6:16. I don't know why I didn't see it on there, but it says maybe she removed it. Can you pull her up?
I don't have my phone, but here, you want me to get my phone? Here, I'll get it. Give me 1 second.
Because there was a post on there about Buster, and I don't see it on here now. Let's take a look. No, it's gone. It was up there earlier. I wonder if it got removed. Has anybody seen the comment that she made about Buster doesn't decide the payroll? That's ownership. This has been clearly something the team could get done for a while if ownership wants to spend the $200+ million it would take. Boris told me outright when I asked at the winter meetings, it's in owners' hands. Did anybody see that tweet today?
Dan, I did see that.
I don't see it up there now. Do you look on her? I don't see it there. Did she remove it? It was put up at 6:16 p.m. tonight. So just an hour and a half ago.
Yeah, they let's see.
Is it gone?
Yeah, it's not on mine either now. Do you think she got in trouble for actually yeah.
Maybe she got in trouble. Will Martinez. Will Martinez says, I do not see the ownership group giving out the highest paid contract to a starting pitcher. They are going to hope and pray for Sasaki, who will end up going to LA while losing out on Burnes. Book it. I could see that too, Will. I could see it. Marty may have been correct that the Giants weren't offering an 8-year deal.
Yeah, I keep hearing now they only go in 6 years. They will not go anymore.
Which, frankly, I get it. The Burnes deal or the free deal to the Yankees.
Yeah, that's really has screwed everything
Look,
up.
they're not getting Sasaki. Let me tell you why, people. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I do not see them getting Sasaki. They have $4.1 million. They are supposedly linked to Josher de Jesus Gonzalez from the Dominican, the number one prospect in international ball. It took $4 to $5 million of pool money to get the last year's top picks. DeVries, and then the kid. I'm forgetting the other kid's name, but the Padres got a guy, and the Braves paid a guy, Perdomo, $5 million, something like that. Giants only have 4.1 million available, Lou. How are they going to pay Sasaki and this kid, De Jesus Gonzalez? I don't see it happening. They're going to have to offer Sasaki a really low deal. And YouTube user, you're right. You're right. This is Guinea. Let me get to some of the comments. Digital Drew, good to see you in the house, bud. Good times. Mark is a big dog on this network. Awesome. Yes.
Oh, here it is. Somebody replied to her. Sorry about that, Dan. It says, Buster does not decide the payroll. That's ownership. This has been clearly something that the team could get done while the ownership wants to spend $2 million. But it's all... Oh, this was the interview when she met...
is that a reply from her or from someone else?
No, from somebody else. That's why.
Oh, okay. The way I saw it, it was sent to me. But
it's in the owner's hands. Buster has nothing to do with it. So, this goes back to what we talked about when Buster was announced. Buster right now is just a name. He's a person that's in charge. They needed him there to get rid of Farhan. He took, he's taken the stab, but he's not making any moves. We're in the same situation because our ownership is cheap. Our ownership now is getting stage fright, as I call it, when they have to spend some money.
Absolutely. The Zito, Will Martinez, great point. The Zito, Cueto, Samardzija contracts have probably scared this ownership group from giving out big bucks to free agent starting pitchers. Yeah, all three of those were bad deals. Zito's was a 7-year deal.
Yeah, but he did win. We did win a World Series.
Yeah,
with him. And without him, we wouldn't. But, the Samardzija and Cueto was fine. I thought, even though he's up and down. In fact, if I remember, weren't they identical? Both 3 for $60?
No, Cueto and Samardzija were 5-year deals.
Were they that big? Because Samardzija was
five.
We got
Samardzija was like A's. 5 for 90.
He was nothing. He was a bum. I hated him from the start. We got him out of desperation. He was never that good. Guy should have stuck to baseball.
Yeah. We got a lot of comments in here. Let's see if we can get to these comments in the chat. Guys, I think this team is, if they go for, look, if they were lucky enough to get Sasaki, which they're not, okay? So he's going to be a Dodger or a Padre.
That's what I think, the Padres, yeah.
Okay. But if they got Sasaki, they would stop there and say, forget, we're not going to give Burnes more than, if he wants to take a 5-year deal, they might do it. But they're not going to they might just walk away and say, you know what? We got a good pitcher, and we'll just go with that. This team is really, as we said on NorCal Sports a couple weeks ago, we did a show. Are the owners committed to winning? You have your answer, everybody. The answer is truly no. They're really not committed to winning. They're committed to putting out as competitive of a product as that they think they can get away with and look like they're still trying to compete. That's why they're going to spend $200+ million. But last year burned them. I'm telling you, Greg Johnson was pissed off that they went over the luxury tax last year and it flopped on him. And then
except for Snell, to tell you the truth, I think we got 6 guys. They were all horrible. Backup catcher got injured, horrible. A guy from Korea played 6 weeks, horrible. Snell, I'll give him credit. Hey, they spent the money. But that contract is so weird. We still owe him a signing bonus for this year, even though he's playing with the Dodgers.
I know.
And then who else did we sign? We signed Chapman. I mean, he was our best player, and that tells us how bad we really were last year.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then who else did we have? Oh,
good point, Nick. Very good point.
Yeah.
He hasn't gotten a contract anywhere else.
Yeah. And it's amazing because Toronto keeps saying they're going to spend money, but maybe it's just a point where, he's older. Boris is going to say we want 8 years or nothing, and this might be more of a thing where it's going to be like Snell last year. Remember, we only got Snell because nobody else signed him, and that's why it happened so late.
Right. I don't think people want to sign Burnes to an 8-year deal. I think the Yankees really screwed the market up with Fried getting 8 years, 218. I think if somebody was willing to go 6 years and 220, if that would be, what is that? What is 6 and 220? That would be 36.6. That's what Snell got. I bet you that's what the Giants deal is. 6 and 220.
Sounds like
I bet you that's where they're at. And they're going to get a little bit more than Burnes, or not Burnes, but Fried. Fried got his 218. So the AAV is way down. But I could see the Giants saying, okay, that's our max, we'll go. And I don't know. We got a lot of great comments in here. Let me get to them. Drod, a new guy here.
Nice.
Welcome, Drod.
Like
Giants shouldn't focus on Sasaki. Getting Webb, Burnes, and Ray in front of their young pitchers will help them a lot. I agree, Drod. That would be great, having 3 vets. What else we got here? I see Don. Those should be separate issues. I think he's probably talking about, well, I'm not sure. I'm in the middle of a conversation here with maybe some others. Nick says if Roki wants to come here, the Giants will not sign. Oh boy. Nick, that to me is a mistake. I think this kid has comparisons to Francisco Lindor. He's a switch hitter. Look, I guess that would be it. They would have to give Roki all $4 million, and they would lose out. Watch the Giants do something like that.
These are the Giants. They'll do something to screw it all up, and then we're back in the same situation. Guys, you got to realize they signed Adames because we haven't had a shortstop since Crawford. We've had nobody.
Right.
So they had the problem with the Giants right now is they have 4 positions they need to fill: first, second, short, and an ace. Okay. Webb is not an ace. I don't care how many times you guys think he's an ace. He's not. So what do? We went for one of the 4, who, by the way, if you saw his stats, had a great year last year. We maybe overpaid a little bit, but we had to get him. So now we have 2 guys, a guy at third and a guy at short that can play great D. The problem is, and this is what me and Dan are going to talk about, they've missed out on so many first basemen. Late night Lamont is not a first baseman, okay? Do you guys ever think about him as a defensive first baseman? No. To tell you the truth, we really haven't had one since Brandon Belt, okay? And before that, maybe JT Snow. JT wasn't the greatest offensively, but he was probably batted 270 where he'd lead our team, but he was a Golden Glove first baseman. Why are we spending so much money getting a shortstop and third when we can't get a first baseman? It doesn't make it. It's like we're doing half the battle. We're gonna try youngsters at second that really have not played second base, and especially for a whole season, and a guy who I don't think is over the hill now. Lamont, off injuries, is not the same player. Okay, the league has caught up to him. If you guys noticed, 2 years ago, he was still late night and he came through, but last year it was horrible. After his injury, he was not the same player. He got on, he was great, but when he came back, he was probably one of our worst hitters. That's just unfortunately how it is when you come off an injury.
Hey, look at this comment here. Let me get to this one here. The Chapman Adames deals do not make sense whatsoever. This is all they do this offseason. It's a 4th place roster at the moment with an expensive left side of the infield. Exactly, Will. Put out a video today and talked about that. This is not a playoff team the way they stand. And look, if they add Corbin Burnes, they're still likely not a playoff team, because if you look at his WAR and you look at Adames' WAR, it would add minus Snell's WAR. It adds about 4 wins. Actually, I didn't even look at Michael Conforto. I wonder what his WAR is last year.
And how many games did we miss? We missed because they was 90. So we literally missed by 8 games of just finishing third in our division.
Yeah, exactly. You know what, Conforto last year, he had a WAR of 1.3. So take that off because he's gone. So you end up really only gaining 3 games if you add Burnes over last year. So that makes you an 83 win team. That's not enough to get in the playoffs. Everything would have to go perfectly. Guys would have to not have injuries. Guys would have to have bounce back years, all of that. But I'm seeing a lot of comments come through the board, and I really appreciate that, guys. Digital Drew, this is what you were saying, Lou. Another thought is it's just harder to blame Posey for the bad moves given his name history. Is Buster simply an ownership meat shield?
I've been saying that. He's been thrown to the wolves since he literally after probably the second day. Because I was like everybody else. I was excited. Butcher's making a move. But, Dan, one of the things everyone gives you a little grief. You bought on the guy who wrote the great article that really opened up my eyes as well as yours when he talked about what are the Giants doing bringing somebody like Buster who's never, ever done anything like this. And I forgot his name, the guy who I don't even know if he's still at KMBR, who wrote the article for, I think that sounds like
Dieter?
Yeah.
Dieter
it was such a great article because it really talked about, and I think too many times us being fans, we always see the positive. Oh God, Buster's here. God, it's sort of like the guy who I met at Tommy's Mexican restaurant who basically told me, guys, we're going to win 90 games. What?
Right.
Yeah. Don't worry. Buster's in charge. He knows what he's doing. Okay. Well, and I had to stand up and tell him, put your money where your mouth is. But I agree. The problem with the Giants is we keep thinking, and this is my biggest fault of the Giants management. Late night Lamont was good 3 years ago. Yaz was good 4 years ago. We're always, hey, these guys are cheap, affordable, and we hope they're 90% of the guys they were 3 years ago, 4 years ago. They're not. They're older. You guys don't realize Yaz is like on his 8th year here. I'm sick of him.
This is year 8. This is year 8.
It's not like he's been here 2 years. He can improve. We've seen the best he could do. And the best he can do is not good enough for us.
The best he could do was 2020, probably.
Yeah.
In a 60-game season, he was like 5th in the MVP voting because he had a really good 60-game season. He was, that was 5 years ago. He was, 34 right now? Going to be 35 in the season, I think. He was like 29 or 30.
And Dan, last year at one point, he struck out 33% of the time. Every game he would strike out.
Oh, I remember. Yeah,
you remember that? We were sort of making fun of it.
I was making bets with people.
Or was it even more? It might have been 40%. It was so bad. Now, great. Guys, if it's just we can have just defensive replacements, but remembering what we're paying him. And this is what me and Dan are going to go out tonight. We paid Yaz a lot of money for 1 year, right? Why? Because he's safe. He can fit the ballpark. We, for his defense, we can put up with his 18 strikeouts and 25 appearances. But the Giants still have a problem. And this is what we're going to talk about tonight. We still do not have a first baseman. In the last 48 hours, there's been major transaction where there's been 6 first basemen that have either been traded or signed. And wait till you guys see their qualities. One of the guys Dan wanted, and see what they signed for. And you tell me, would you rather have Yaz as a 4th outfielder or one of these other guys for basically the same money on a 1-year deal? And that's what we're really going to, that's why I don't understand what the hell's going on.
I like Drew's comment here, Digital Drew. If we're going to suck, I'd rather have guys I like and want to root for. I want to root for Yaz. Maybe ownership sees him that same way. Look, if you like Yaz, I get it. Root for him. My thing is this is where I come from, Digital Drew. If they're going to suck, I want to see all of our farmhands. I want to see all of them. I want Luciano as my DH. I want Matos in left. Okay, you signed Lee. He's young. He might be a good spark. Center field, Ramos, right field. First base, Tyler Fitzgerald. Second base, Casey Schmidt. You've already signed Adames and Chapman. That bridge has been burnt, too much, too late. You signed them. You can't trade them. You're stuck with them. I would have rather seen Schmidt at third base. But okay, let's play Fitzgerald.
You got to
Let's
do the
put-
cards that are dealt with you right now.
Yeah,
So I see what you're saying, Dan.
and have Luciano as my DH. I want to see these guys in the lineup. I want to root for the young guys. I want to see, Lou, there was a period there was a road trip last year. I think they went Eastern Swing. They were playing Pittsburgh, the Mets. They went 8-1 or something like that. Excuse me. You know who was playing in the lineup? It was Matos, Ramos, and Luciano, all three.
Didn't one of them get Player of the Week, if I remember?
Earlier in the
on that road trip. And then what happened? Like, I think
he had a bad week and they sent him down.
And then they sent him down.
Never to be heard from again. But my point is I got excited watching the young kids. It was the first time I actually got excited for the season. Yeah. And I was like, yes, I can get behind this. And then Luciano struggles in the
defensively,
field.
Not hitting, but he was defensively. Remember at short, he probably made 2 or 3 errors. Right. I remember.
And they just, instead of letting him play through it, they yank him. Why? Yep. Team was going nowhere. And that's the problem I have with this organization. I have a problem with the way they think. They don't hire true baseball people. Now they've given Buster the role. Okay, let him grow into it. He's a baseball person. But is he an experienced executive? No, he's going to have to learn on the job, because I would have went with a more experienced guy who's dealt with doing a rebuild.
Sure.
Okay. And I would have rebuilt this thing. I would have never signed Chapman to the deal. And you know what? I'm okay with Adames because you need a shortstop. You don't even have one in your organization, which is pretty sad if you think about it. Who is their shortstop? They don't have anybody even capable of coming in and playing shortstop. Fitzgerald's not a shortstop.
No.
Luciano's not a shortstop. Who's the next shortstop that was below on the totem pole?
I think we just drafted him. He's like in probably single A. That's the other problem.
Well, they drafted like 3 or 4 the other year.
The thing with the Giants is
Martin.
We're hoping that this team is 100% injury free. But if you guys have noticed the last 3 years, it seems like Yaz's been on the DL probably 500 times. No lie. Something's wrong with his groin or he hurts himself. The Giants always seem to get injured. So that's where you got to have a bench or somebody that's used to playing. Dan brings up a good point. Who's our backup shortstop? We don't have anybody in the organization. That's how desperate it's become. It's the same thing with our, we're using a guy who we got from for a backup catcher, right? Who none of us like, who we signed 2 years, I think $4.6 million. The other one is a guy that we got from the draft 5 draft. I mean, what are they thinking? And that's the biggest problem. Not only do we need our farm system to help us when we want to make trades, we need guys that actually can do it in case one of our studs gets injured that can actually fill in. So, I mean, we have more holes than somebody, juggling chainsaws. It's sort of ridiculous.
Get to some of these comments in the chat. Yeah. Dallas says, I'm not burying Posey yet. If he signs 2 more guys, Dan is completely
big F.
Satisfied with this offseason. He said so last night. If he doesn't make any more, wait, Dan is completely with this. No, I said I'm satisfied. I think that comment, if I remember, Dallas is if they signed Burnes, and I can't remember. There was one other,
another hit
player.
Baseball.
It was a everyday player. Can't remember who it was, but then I would be satisfied. It was. George Curry says the bottom line, Giants are cheap and do not operate like a big market. How the hell are players going to win this? Take this ownership and team series because they won't go over the tax for an ace. Exactly. They have him. He's hand delivered, but they won't do it. Digital Drew agreed. The cupboards, empty the cupboards and see what's in the farm system for real. Accelerated development is a thing. Absolutely. I think these guys could have grown together and played. Somebody asked me here, and I think it was Drod. Giants could trade for Spencer Steer. Yes, Cody from Even Your Dynasty brought that up in a one of his videos. I love the idea. They didn't want to trade for Naylor before. they are being cheap. The fans should let them know Adames and Chapman are not enough. Absolutely. They're not enough because it's Somebody asked me why Chapman, why wouldn't you want to, okay, Digital Drew says, didn't Chapman have one of the higher WARs? Yeah, he did pretty good last year. Drod, why wouldn't you sign Chapman? He's literally one of the top third base in the league. Okay, Drod, let me tell you why I wouldn't have signed Chapman. Because if you're not going to go for it, what are you doing? If you can't sign Corbin Burnes right now, and you could have went out and got easily one of the first basemen, heck, they had enough to trade for Kyle Tucker if they were willing to do it. They don't want to win. They want to watch the pocketbook. So if you're going to watch the pocketbook, why are you signing a 32-year-old guy as your keystone player for 6 years? Why wouldn't you just rebuild the doggone thing and put Casey Schmidt at third base, his natural position, where you drafted him, and let him see what you got? I would have let Chapman enter. I would have started. I don't know. I don't know how to say. Look, nothing against Matt Chapman. He's probably their best player. Him and Adames and I guess Ramos, right? But Chapman has weaknesses in his game. He doesn't drive in runs. The most runs he's ever driven in his 8-year career is 91. And then he never got over 80 in the rest of his career. Not once has he got 80 RBIs after that 91. So how do you have a middle of the order bat that only drives in 75 to 78 runs a season? You got to have somebody that is pushing close to 100 if you're batting in the middle of the order, but he doesn't drive in the runs. Yes, he's a great third baseman. He's phenomenal at the glove. He's a phenomenal base runner. I get all that. I like Matt Chapman. I'm not against Matt Chapman, okay? Don't take me wrong here when you hear me say, I'm not against Matt Chapman, but if you're going to have Matt Chapman and you signed him for 6 years, you should have a payroll that is probably 275 to 325 million. And you should just go for it. You should have went for Kyle Tucker. You should have went for Josh Naylor. You should have signed a really good first baseman. You should be going for a really great outfielder. You should be looking to trade for Luis Robert Jr. He is a superstar potential player. His problem is he can't stay healthy, but he's 27. The Giants have no stars. Take a risk and go after a guy who's potentially a star. And you know what? He's cheap. He's $15 million this year and $20 million the next 2 years. That's a total of $55 million for 3 years that you could have Luis Robert. Why wouldn't you take a shot on somebody that hit 38 home runs in 2023? You know what Luis Robert did in 23, Lou? You want to know what Luis Robert did?
Show me. And one thing, Dan, you've never been against the signing of Chapman. Droid, he got what he didn't like is why are we signing him for 6 years? Okay, he's 32. We all know when you sign a contract for 6 years, the last 2 are basically throwaways. And we threw in the no trade clause. Nothing wrong with Chapman if we had a stud. Like if we had someone like Soto, Chapman deal would be fine, but we don't. You're putting all your eggs in one basket. And the other thing, if you guys were here last year, Chapman with runners in scoring position was batting like 196 at one time. He strikes out way too much in the clutch, and when you're when you're batting third or fourth with the Giants, you got one job to do when you're hitting, to knock the shit out of the ball, score those runs. He couldn't do that. He couldn't do sacrifice flies. He only had one time where he actually hit a hit that actually counted. And that was, I think, against Florida, like in the 8th inning when he finally came through. The rest of the year, he was horrible. And by the way, WAR is the most overrated thing in the world because it takes offense and defense. Hey, he's one of the great defensive players, yes, but we need him to be a stud on offense. And if you look at his stats over the last 4 years, there's a reason why Toronto got rid of him and didn't sign him back. We're getting guys that other teams don't want. So just take a look at his stats over the last 5 years and you understand.
I'll pull that up
for 6 years.
Look at Luis Roberts, 23.
Yeah.
Okay. He had 595 plate appearances. If you look at his games played, his problem has been he can't stay healthy. But he is only going to be 27 this coming year. That's hitting your prime.
Yep.
27 to 32 is your prime in baseball. Okay. And I mean, maybe even 31 right in there. Guys, I mean, maybe 32, but most players don't hit free agency until they're 30, and then they have a couple of good years, and then they start to go
Fade.
down a little bit.
Yeah.
But look at his 23 season, 38 homers. He hit 264. He stole how many bases? Where's my stolen bases on here? Come on. There it is. Okay, he stole 20 bases. Last year, with a hamstring issue, he only played 100 games, but he still stole 23 bases. Look, I'm not saying Luis Robert is the end-all, be-all, but you have nobody that with that kind of talent. I mean, maybe Ramos could be that kind of player, but this guy hit 38 bombs. And I'll tell you who's going to end up with Luis Robert. Go check out the video I put out today about the Dodgers. They're looking for a right-handed bat if they don't get Teoscar Hernandez. And the three people that they're looking for, according to Ken Rosenthal in The Athletic, is Hassan Kim, Sasaya Suzuki, and Luis Robert Jr. How badass would Luis Robert Jr. be playing center field with the Dodgers with that lineup?
Yep. And then Dan, you keep talking about that 38 homers. Does anybody in the chat, can you guys name the last Giants player just to hit 30 homers? Come on,
Yeah,
chat.
I can tell you.
Dan, do you want to come on, chat? Before Dan speaks in 1 minute, tell me the last Giants player
My lips are
that hit
sealed.
30 homers.
Digital Drew nailed it. Dallas Helliker nailed it. Barry Bonds, 2007, was it?
Yeah, it's been 17 years. That's a disgrace. 17 years.
Oh, Luke's going to have to hit his new mic mute button right in the front. There it is. Look at that. Lou's got a mic now. He's sounding even more.
Yeah, Connor Joe. Remember, we got rid of Connor Joe because Farhan said he wasn't good enough. He went to Pittsburgh, and boy, he sort of beat us up.
Okay, Eddie K was right. It was 2004. I think he only hit 28 homers in 2007, his last year with the Giants.
Bonds.
Yeah,
All right, here's
Bonds.
the other question. With left field, do you guys know since Bonds retired, which was 18 years ago, are you guys aware we've had 18 different left fielders on opening day?
And this year it'll be
18
19.
different.
Won't this year be 19? Who started in left field for the Giants last year?
2 years ago was Connor Joe. We got rid of him.
No,
Last
that
year
was
was
that was way. Connor Joe was
4
years
years ago.
That was like his Farhan's first year, 19. Who was the
Conforto, maybe?
left fielder last year? Conforto? Okay, I think it was. Dallas said Conforto. He's gone. So you got it. The streak continues.
Yeah.
That is absolutely, as Mark Graves says, embarrassing. Come on. That's horrible. That just tells you have no idea what you're doing. You have no plan. This is just ring around the rosies or romper room or whatever you call it. What's the shuffling the Titanic?
Yeah, ring around the rosy. That's
mean,
a good
come
one.
on.
And you got to remember, left field usually is a power. You guys got to remember, we have nobody as, like you look at the teams, and we've talked about this. The Giants have nobody where if he's about to bat, you're going to hold if you have to go to the bathroom or pick up a beer or something. There's not one guy that you're going to watch. Now, you look at the Dodgers, they got probably 5 guys that when they bat, like Ohtani right now, when you watch him, you don't move. You want to see what he'll do because he'll do something incredible. With us, we're just, again, very safe, as I say it, above average. I think the biggest problem is, and Dan said this,
And we need Dave Kingman. We need Dave Kingman, Sean.
Tong, of course. And that was the other thing, like Rob Deere. I didn't care if they struck out 200 times. They would hit 45 bombs. We need a presence like that.
Maybe Pete Alonso could be the guy, but they're not going to do it. If they're not going to, yeah. I just, Pete Alonso, by the way, I think he re-signs with the Mets.
Yeah, either hit there or Seattle. but he hadn't signed with Seattle, even though they offered him contracts. So it sounds like he's going to go.
Seattle's not a great place to hit. It's
But here's the thing. You now have Soto. Why not go there? You know what? The pressure's all off. You could come by. You're in your basically the same dud, same everything. He could have a monster year because he's not the face of the franchise anymore. You know, behind Soto's got all the pressure.
What about Josh Bell? It's probably an upgrade over Lamont in a way, but
yeah, I love him because he's also switch hit. You know,
that's why I wanted
left to right.
I thought
Josh Naylor. People don't
Carlos,
realize Josh Naylor was the second best hitter on the Cleveland Indians that almost beat the Yankees last year. That would have gone to the World Series. It's phenomenal. You know, they just don't know what they're doing. I mean, you look at Josh Naylor, the Arizona Diamondbacks, who last time I looked are still in our division, lost their power hitter. So what do? Boom. They get Josh Naylor.
Drod, what we're saying is the Giants could have signed Carlos Santana for a 1-year deal. Look, you're not blocking Eldridge. Eldridge would be a mistake if they rush him. He is the long-term answer. But then again, so was Christian Arroyo at shortstop, and so was what was the other guy?
Guy named Joey Bart, the replacement.
I mean, how many guys? Yeah, he was the second-round pick overall. Second
overall pick.
Yeah. Overall pick. You know, Eldridge is doing great, and he looks like he, should be pretty successful.
And Marty Lurie actually almost was begging on your show that I loved. By the way, you and Dan with Marty. Marty said, "Do not rush him. Please, Giants, don't make a mistake. He could be something special. Let him rise through it." Because there's been so many guys like Eldridge that once they get to the pros, they fall on their face and some never come back. You know, it's one of those things. So take your time. Remember, why are you going to rush him? He's not going to make us a playoff team unless he is that type of player. He still needs a little development. They rushed him because Farhan wanted to save his job and he wanted to look good because, remember, we hired him to make our farm system look better and us better, and it failed. That's why he's no longer with us.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Let me send this text here real quick to Kyle, or to Larry, I should say. Okay. Yes, George, Giants are not paying for Alonso. Exactly. I don't think he's the answer for the team. They're not going to block Eldridge. Eldridge will be here possibly sometime next year, most definitely by 2026. I think he probably, makes it up at some point next year. We'll see how it goes, but I wouldn't be surprised if they bring him up late August after it doesn't affect his eligibility, his rookie status for the 26th season. That would be my guess.
Dan, I got a phone call. Someone's trying to help you out. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no problem. Since you have a bet with Bora thinks he's going to be up here opening day, Eldridge, and it's $20. And unfortunately, you lost $20 to Ryan. The Giants aren't going to bring him up until July. So that
would be good. So Ryan, so Bora, just send Ryan my $20. If you're listening, Bora's not feeling too good tonight. He's got a little that bug or whatever that virus.
Yeah, there's something definitely going around.
So I think what I'll have to do is I will just have Bora send the $20 that is rather than give to me, he'll just give it straight to Ryan. There we go. Ryan, Bora will pay you next year.
And did we go over the chat? I can't remember.
Well, we were looking at the chat. Let's see.
I mean, the super chat. Sorry.
Oh, did I see a super chat? Did I miss it?
Yeah, Digital Drew. We talked a little bit.
Oh, that's not a super chat. That's not a super chat.
Oh, sorry.
That was just a starred chat.
Oh, okay. My fault.
If Eldridge is the guy, yeah, the Giants will sign him like the Braves do. They should. They should buy him out, get him for 10 years. Look, if the guy makes it at 21, 22, and you see he's got that potential, why wouldn't you try and sign a guy for 10 years, 110, 120, something like that?
Giants have done that twice where it really helped them. The first one I really think of was Mad Bum. they realize they have something special. They signed him. I mean, God, he was making like 8 and 10 million only,
They
which
did it for
really helped.
Buster. They did
And then
Buster.
Buster, they did, his third year. So those are the two guys that I really remember. They had young talent, and they said, let's sign him.
Manuel Alka says, does Ramos get 30 homers this year? I think he probably ends up with about 28, 29. It's really tough to knock out 30 in Oracle when half your games are there. If anybody could do it because he can hit him to right field. Remember, he's the guy that put it in
the only
bay.
guy.
He's the only right-handed batter who's ever put it in the Cove.
Yep.
And
on the right side.
It's funny because I can't remember who I predicted would do it. I don't think it was Ramos. Who did I predict would be the right-handed bat that would do it? Maybe was it might have been Ramos. Who's the other right-handed power guy that goes?
Because
it wasn't Matos.
I'm trying to think who we've had.
I said it on this show at one point a year or two ago, and I can't remember who it was. Oh,
Soler?
no.
Mark thinks it might have been Soler. I mean, he had enough power.
No,
remember, that's why we got him last year.
I didn't say it was Soler. I said it was somebody that was coming up. I can't remember. Anyway, it'll come to me at some point. But Buster almost did it. Would have done it against the Dodgers in the playoffs had it not hit that little tower thing or whatever
thing. Sure.
Yeah, that was epic. No, it wasn't Schmidt. I just don't remember who. Maybe I said it was Ramos, but I can't remember.
Yeah. The one thing is, go ahead. I'm sorry.
If the Giants are so worried about payroll, then trade Robbie Ray and Yaz to the A's for salary relief. Sign Burnes with the money. Trade Taylor Rogers, Wisenhunt, and Luciano for Sandy Alcantara. Alcantara is how you say it.
Yeah.
Am I all right, Eddie? Yeah, I just can't remember things. Too old, man.
That was 18 months ago you talked about it.
I can't even remember who I said.
Dan, about tonight's show, I don't know if the chat saw it. We said that they need a first, a second, a shortstop, and an ace. So one of the reasons why me and Dan wanted to talk tonight is I don't know if you guys saw this all happen in the last 60 hours. Okay. 3 days. Christian Walker, who we knew we couldn't get, signed 3 years, $60 million. No problem. We're not going to go for him. Dan, 2 weeks ago, did a lineup, and he bought up one guy that wasn't even on our team, and that was Carlos Santana. He goes, this guy, and the key thing about Carlos, he doesn't strike out. He makes contact of what's something we're lagging.
Right.
He signed a 1-year deal with Cleveland, $11.2 million. 1 year, $11.2 million. Okay. No reason why we couldn't have done that. Paul Goldschmidt, who I know Dan maybe said, hey, I'm not sure. 1 year deal. Remember, 1 year deal, guys, $12.5 million with the Yankees. Okay. When Christian Walker left, not even 12 hours later, Josh Naylor, who, if you guys look up his stats from last year, he's a switch hitter. He was his second best.
No, Naylor's not a switch hitter.
I thought he was.
I don't think Naylor
he was the second best hitter for Cleveland.
If he is, I'm mistaken. I thought he was a lefty only.
Okay, he got traded to Arizona.
Josh Naylor bats left. Yeah, he's only
just left. Okay, sorry. Just pounds the ball. And then the Texas Rangers, traded for Nathaniel Lowe.
Right.
All these guys, that's 5 players. So what are we doing? If we're not going to go after first baseman, that means we're stuck with Lamont Wade. Okay. Well, then why do we sign Adames? Why do we sign Chapman? If we're not going to get him a first baseman, it makes no sense. So we're going to have a guy that's not really a first baseman. And again, you go back to the war situation. For the Giants to make it, be a playoff team, you need somebody that's solid defensively and can hit. Not these guys that are good one way and bad the other. That's why we're a 4th place team, guys. we're basically an average team. And guess what? That's what 81 and 81 is. That's
Yep.
us.
Drawd says people criticize Giants for not going for Tucker, but we got to remember the guy is only a 1-year rental, can easily leave the team, and then traded him for being traded for the dust. The Giants can make some good moves this year and really gear up for next year with a Vlad or Tucker. Here's where I differ on that philosophy, Drawd. I think that it didn't cost much to go out and get Tucker. If you look at the deal, the Giants could have given guys away that they're not in their plans anyway. This is what drives me crazy. The Giants sit on guys that are young and have some talent, but they don't even give them a shot. Like guys like Luciano and Schmidt. They got to find places for them or just move off of them. If you're not going to give them a shot, they're not, especially Schmidt's going to be like 25 or 26 next year. They never gave him a shot at his position. They never let him play third base. Crawford was coming up and was at the end of his career, and they needed a shortstop, and they didn't have one again. So they made Casey a shortstop, never let him play third base because they had J.D. Davis, and then they turn around and screw J.D. Davis in an arbitration. What is the plan with this team? Why wouldn't you have played Casey Schmidt at third base? If J.D. Davis was not in your plans, what are you doing? So here's my take on this, Drawd. I would have tried to go get Tucker. I get him here. I get him in with Adames and Chapman and Ramos and Bailey and a couple other guys, and he becomes the right fielder. And as he's starting to maybe enjoy San Francisco, you stick a 10-year, 12-year, what is he, 27, $500+ million contract in front of him and say, you can sign this now, or you could take the rest of the chance while you're here. Something happens, you get injured, you're not, you have a freak situation like what happened to Acuna, and you're not going to be, your knees blown out. You're not going to be able to play next year, possibly till midseason. Maybe that lowers your value. I don't know. If I got 550 staring in front of me, what's 50 times 12?
600.
Isn't that
That's 600 million.
What's 45?
480 million. Oh,
I'm looking at 550. Let me just do the 550 divided by 12, 45 million. Okay. He may get that, may not get that on the open market. But if you have him in your, in your clubhouse
organization, he sees how great it is,
and you put that kind of money in front of him, that's how you're going to get a guy. You're not going to get, I don't think the Giants are ever going to compete and get a Kyle Tucker. You're not going to, what, if the Dodgers want Kyle Tucker, you think he's coming to the Giants next year? The Dodgers need an outfielder. They want the Mets. You think you're going to compete with that? The Yankees replace Soto? No.
You have to adjust.
No. Tucker is, he's testing free agent regardless. Soto just got 765, actually almost 800. True. He may test it, but you know what? He'd only cost you a couple prospects. He would have cost you about 3 prospects, guys that you weren't using. And what happens if the Giants actually had a successful season with Kyle Tucker? Let's say he did walk. But what happens if you actually had momentum and you got people excited around the ballpark again? Maybe that might be able to get you a free agent next year. But the free agent class next year is not good. It's Tucker and
worse
Vladdy.
than this year.
Well, this year had some decent players.
No, I mean it's worse than the year we just have.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're having a big show here tonight. We've got a lot going. We've been going for 54 minutes. We'll go another 5. We'll wrap it up. Give us your thoughts. By the way, guys, if you're Warriors fans, we will be back here right after the Golden State Warriors Indiana game. Currently, that game is late in the third quarter, and the Pacers are up by 10, 82-72. over the Warriors. The Warriors should have rested Steph Curry tonight, but they didn't. I don't know why they don't get it in their head. You're coming off a long road trip from the East. He's tired. He's only scored 2 points. He's 0 for 5. He's getting older. His knees, he's struggling with, sit the guy. And it just, I don't get it. They should have sat him tonight, had him rested for Christmas Day. Now he's got 1 day turnaround. Just dumb. I don't understand some organizations. What puts people in charge of how do they get these jobs? Some of these people. How did Farhan get a freaking job as top dude of the winningest franchise in all of baseball?
That was all Larry Bear's fault. He fell in love with them.
Larry Bear, you ruined the Giants, Larry. Thanks, Larry. Larry.
Yeah. And the one thing I'll just talk about the Warriors for 1 second is they're meeting teams that are finally healthy. You get a team like Indiana. People forget last year, Indiana was one of the best teams in the East. Now they're healthy. The Warriors are getting a back-to-back. And, we've seen the Warriors sometimes. They go against these teams that run and boom. But What can you do?
But I just don't understand organizations. Look, we look at things and we see it. I told everybody last year's Giants are fourth place team, not a 500 club. I told everybody Jordan Hicks would flame out, never pitched that many innings. He's going to get hurt. He did. I said Chapman, when he came over here, he would not produce at the plate as much as, and last year that was a big year.
Except for the 49ers, you've been probably 85% better than anybody.
I missed on the Niners this year. I nailed it last year. I had them last year going to the Super Bowl and going 13-4 last year. I made the mistake and doubled down on it. That's
what makes this show so good. It's your show, and you had two guys going against you, and you stuck with what you thought.
George says, come on, Dan. So you're saying you can run the Warriors better than the group? They can't. No, I'm just saying, how come they can't see?
I could run it better than Dunleavy Jr. He got the job because there was nobody else around. Yeah. He's unqualified, and he went to that horrible school called Duke. And he was, if it wasn't, would you guys think Dunleavy, if it wasn't for his name, would have this job? No. That's the thing about the Giants, and you got to get people that have done it. Dan, I would have loved if the Giants would have gotten the guy that turned around the Orioles and the Astros. I forgot who that GM is. It's such a different thing. When you're a star player, that's
Mike
great.
Elias, yeah.
But when you have to do everything else, you got to put egos aside. It's a job, and you have pressure like beyond belief. Like Moneyball, as you guys saw in the movie Moneyball, that was probably like 20% of realism. Maybe, it's crazy. It's a 24-hour job. And when the season starts, it's 36. Listen to Ned. Why do you think Ned got out of there? Because he loved it? Because of how it went? No. He now does hockey because he enjoys hockey. It's something different. But, there were long days after every game. Ned and Sabian would take a walk. Like, what else can we do? It never stops.
Yep. Let me address some of these comments toward me, and we'll get that out of here. But Anthony, Dan, they get paid to play. What happened? No load management. Give me a break. 90s NBA, nobody wanted to sit. Listen, Anthony, all I'm saying is Steph has bilateral knee tendonitis. He's getting older. You have to protect the player. He's not going to say, I want to sit. There's certain games you have to look at the schedule and say, we traveled back east. We're going to travel back home after a tough couple of games. You got blown out in Memphis and then a very tough game in Minnesota. If he wasn't hurting, I would say let him play. He's tired. He's run down. He played in the Olympics. You're going to have to spot rest him if you're going to get him through the rest of the season. That's what I'm saying. No, he should not retire, Anthony. He should not retire.
No. And Dan, you bring up a great point. The next 9 games, 8 of them are home. So, you could the Warriors are good enough to win at home against an average team. And we've seen it. They were 3-1 without Steph. So it's not like
George says, come on, Dan. You're saying you can run the Warriors better than the group they can. Steph don't want to sit. Maybe I already put that up. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But I will say this, George. There's sometimes when the coaching staff has to look and make calculated decisions. You have a game Wednesday. He's not sitting on Christmas Day on a nationally televised game against LeBron and the Lakers. You should have just sat him down tonight. Moody's back in the lineup playing. So Indiana's on a back-to-back. This is a perfect time. You're coming back. I don't know if you guys know how tough it is, especially as you get older, to travel and then get right back into the swing of things a day later. Your body has to recover and regroup. Curry's almost 37. I would just give him spot rest. Now, if he's not hurting, fine. But he just came out and said he's going to need some rest with his knees. It's just not going to get better. I don't know when you rest him. If you can't rest him against a home game off of a long road, not a long road trip, but when I say long, I mean flight-wise, time-wise. You're coming back from Minnesota. That's not an easy flight. You get home, late Saturday night, Sunday recovery, you're back on the floor Monday. I would have given him a break, let him rest, and then be really fresh for Wednesday. But, that's just the way it goes. And I would have said that even if he had a great game tonight, because if he had a great game tonight, I think he'd flop on Wednesday.
And Dan, Digital Drew brings up a good point. By the way, that's how it is being a Bay Area fan in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, Digital.
Yeah, you know what, Anthony? I agree.
That's part of it.
Jordan was something else. No, not that one. Which one was it? Oh, I think he said Dan, but Dad, that's cool. I'm a dad. I got 6 kids. Dan, you forget when Jordan was 38, played all 82 and won the Larry O'Brien championship. Yeah, I mean, Jordan was a freak athlete.
That's why he's the GOAT.
It's okay, Anthony. It's okay, son. It's okay. Thank you. He says, sorry. It's all right, son. No worries. I love it. I don't know how old Anthony is. I'm probably old enough to be his dad. How old is my oldest? Born in 86. So that makes her what? 38? Yeah. 38. I got a 38-year-old daughter and a 36-year-old son, and then a group younger after a hiatus of 10 years. Anthony says, do you have a lot of players there? A lot of players are in their time played almost every game. Isaiah Thomas and all. Yeah. Yeah, I know the NBA was different. It was also more physical. Guys didn't play. I do think Curry, just the fact that he, I don't think anybody has run as many miles on a basketball court more than Steph Curry. Do you think anybody's run around the court more than Steph Curry? I don't think it's even close.
No, maybe the second closest. You got to think of someone like a Ray Allen that had to go through screens to get an open shot. But no, he's probably run double of what anybody else has ever run when you really think about it.
Hope says, wow, you have 6 kids. You and your wife are busy. Actually, 4 biological kids, Hope, 2 adopted kids from China. So, yeah, my youngest is now 16. My son from China, and then I have a daughter from China who she was born in 2007. She's going to be 18 in next May. So,
all right, we're going to have a good one. Tied at 89, 11 minutes left.
Oh, yeah, I just looked, 89, guys. You know what? We're going to take a little break here. Yeah. We're going to leave this show. You guys want to talk a little bit more? Come back in the chat at about, I would say 8 or 9:30, roughly right about 9:30. Maybe it might be 9:20. We'll bring it back and we'll talk Warriors basketball. If anybody wants to bring in some Giants topics in there, we will welcome that as well. But again, this is NorCal Sports Network, and we cover it all. We got you covered. Steph Curry, the Golden State Warriors, runs an average of 2.534 miles. Is that a game, Mark? Per game? 2.5 miles a game? Must be a game because he certainly
that's a lot.
he certainly has run more than 2.5 miles in his career. But I think he meant 2.5 miles per game. He said it again, Anthony. I'm just messing with you, Dad, for me to watch up the rhythm of the game that Phil Jackson even said it recently. Too many.
Too many challenges.
Yeah, too
by
many
the refs
challenges.
God, it's gotten so bad. I saw they had like 6 straight plays with a challenge.
Yeah.
It's just it ruins the flow.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're gonna get out of here. We'll be back here on NorCal Sports Network for Golden State Warriors, Indiana Pacers post-game show, probably in about 30 minutes, maybe 40 at the most, unless it goes OT. Guys, thanks for watching. This is the place to be, NorCal Sports Network. Give this show a like. I would appreciate it while you're watching this show. If you'd hit that like and subscribe. Well, you're already subscribed if you're in the chat, but if you're outside of the chat watching on X, come on over to YouTube. Give us a like. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much, guys. We will be back here shortly. Have a great night. Hope to see you back in the Warriors chat. Take care.